Hello. Close that. Hey. Waiting for, let's see, it's gonna pop up. And I hope you guys can hear me. Close that. Hey everyone, good evening. Welcome back to Wind Down Wednesday with moi, Michelle Wedderburn, here in San Miguel de Allende, which is in central Mexico. Hi Jetta, let me know if you can hear me, and also let everybody know where you're checking in from if you want to. If you're lurking in the background, that's okay too. Feel free to hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. So, how's everyone doing? How's everyone doing today? Let's see here, getting myself set up. Just let me know that you can hear me, okay? Because I never know. I don't really know what's happening on the other end. Welcome to another Wednesday. We are literally in the middle of October already. I cannot believe it. This is my birthday month. I'm going to say month. I don't really have any plans. Hi from Cali. Hey, my friend. See you soon. I don't really have plans, but I will come up with something. I'm not normally doing a group thing or a birthday. Okay, great. You can hear me. Awesome. Thank you. But I'm going to try to figure something out. Hey, Miss Dahlia, how you doing? Yes, you are at beautiful Casa Elm. I appreciate that. Thank you. So today we're going to talk about the cost of living in Mexico, but I would like, when more people come on, please check in. I would like it to be a little bit interactive, so you can kind of maybe say what, your costs are, so we can talk about like the differences, because I have not lived in the United States for 6 years, and I am going to go based on just kind of some of the things I hear, what cost things cost here and where I live in Mexico, and just kind of maybe what my experiences have been traveling throughout Mexico in other areas, food costs and things like that, eating out and transportation and things. So I will talk a little bit about those details, but I wanted to have like you all kind of chime in, and this isn't really this isn't about knocking prices in the United States. We know there's two different currencies, two different countries, and things are what they are. But I think for it to be maybe a little bit more accurate in terms of like what things are here in different parts of Mexico, and maybe what you're paying where you are will kind of give me insight also. Because again, I have not lived in the US for over 6 years. And that's just not like something I go looking for, because I'm here, right? And then I'm assuming you're here because you're curious about maybe life in Mexico. So let's share. Hi, Shauna, welcome. Thank you for being here tonight. And again, thank you all for sharing where you are. And as I said, feel free to share and jump in, chime in. I'll keep an eye on the chat. And I'm just going to kind of go through like what I feel kind of are the general like things that we have to pay every month, plus the things that maybe are more specific to my life, my world. I won't really get too much into the business part, because that's a little bit different, but if you have any specific questions, I can try to answer those for you. Again, I'm Michelle Wedderburn. I reside in San Miguel de Allende, which is located in central Mexico. I have been here for over 6 years. People debate about what to call us: expats, immigrants. I call us foreigners often, as we're foreigners. We live in another country. I'm a resident. I'm a permanent resident of Mexico. I am very happy to be here. I very much enjoy this country, this life, that I feel that I have kind of carved out of circumstances. So I really hope that I can always get on and inspire other people through the work that I do, and to continue telling my story, and to continue building community online. A lot of it starts here online on my channel, and then turns into potentially being a guest at Casa Elm, or just come to San Miguel and joining one of our events, or whatever it is. So I'm very excited to be a part of so many journeys, and super humbled and grateful for all of it. So that's what we do. Casa Elm is my guest house space, and if this is your first time here, feel free to go to my website, casaelm.com, and there you can see all the things that we do, and all the things that we're involved in, whether it is a relocation tour, which we wrapped up a few weeks ago. I had 2 of my guests on last week who are permanently here now, living in San Miguel. There have been many of women who've come through, and I say women because mostly women. Yes, it's open to the men. Kevin was on last week, and he actually booked a consultation with me, so I'm very excited for him also, and his scouting of San Miguel. And it's just rapidly growing here. The people that have already lived here, and then the ones that are coming, it's just becoming a very diverse pool of faces, and I'm very excited about that. So I basically help those who want to have a soft landing experience in San Miguel de Allende in central Mexico. It's a great place to start if you're not sure about where you want to live. I think it's also a great place to scout. If you're more of a big city person, this is a great starting point. We can kind of help you figure out like where some of the places you would want to go to. If you're looking for like even more authentic Mexican experiences, and to me, that's not at the beach towns, okay? To me, it is places like this, towns like this, even though we are immigrant/expat, foreigner heavy, it's still very Mexican. The way it looks, and it's very colonial. It's beautiful. It's just a beautiful city. So I'm very excited about all the things that are coming, that have already happened. We just wrapped up a sabbatical on Tuesday of this week. It was the 1st of October to the 15th. And we just had these like amazing groups of women and great chemistry, and there are more coming. One arrived yesterday, another one arrived today, one that's here, Miss Dahlia, and it's just really exciting. Next week is actually our first San Miguel meetup, so I'm very excited, and you all in the group that will already that are already a part of it, and then those who got their general admission tickets. I'm very excited to show you around, and we're gonna have an amazing fun weekend. So check out my website, go to the events page. There's so many things happening. I'm like talking about all the things, but we're gonna get to the point soon. I also added today, if you're interested in being somewhere for Thanksgiving, feel free to spend a week here with us for Thanksgiving. Or if you're in town and you're watching this, and you already have a place to stay, we are also going to be having a Thanksgiving soulful brunch on the 24th, which will be very beautiful. It's going to be a sit-down dinner, and it will be here. So I normally do monthly meetups within our Black SMA group, and our monthly meetups are usually the last Sunday of every month. And for the month of November, and it's usually at like different locations. We go to different restaurants and different places. This November, it's going to be here, and it's going to be catered by Chef Jackie. She does a lot of really delicious foods, and she doesn't only do soul food, but that is somewhat her signature. And we're also going to have live entertainment with Danielle Bush Simmons, who is a fantastic singer and has done several events throughout the past year with some other ladies. So I'm very excited about that. So if you happen to be here or you want to come for the week of Thanksgiving, please go to casaelm.com. Again, casaelm.com. Go to the events page and just scroll. You can see what we have. And also if you want to just see what's happening for next year. Last thing is to be sure to sign up or at least visit and check out Black Blossom, which is a wellness retreat that I'll be doing next year with Tracy Collins. And we're going to be here in Mexico, but we'll be in the state of Oaxaca on the beach at a very beautiful boutique hotel. And we're going to have Tuesday through Sunday, good old time of wellness for women. We still have a few spaces left, and look out for some specials that will be coming. If you haven't subscribed and you fall into our demographic, because this is going to be an event for Black women, if you do fall into that demographic, please be sure to sign up for the newsletters, and we're going to probably do a Black Friday special, and I'm also going to do a Black Friday special for my events for next year. So please make sure, please make sure you check us out there as well. Hi, Michelle. Michelle and Miss Ingenuity. I have to just drop in here again. I just want you to know, Michelle, that thank you for coming on, because it's sort of like a little trigger every week. But every guest that comes, I always brag on your teas. She does an amazing, she has her own company, and they're all organic teas with these amazing flavors and fantastic names for them. And she's our official sponsor for Casa Elm. It is just delicious. I just want you to know I've been making iced tea like crazy, all the flavors. And I would say definitely the favorites are still the champagne and berry, the lavender chamomile, which is my favorite. I try not to drink it in the day because it really mellows me out. It makes me just want to go lay down. And then the spice pear. Those I think are the ones that I get the most comments from. So they're just delicious. So be sure to check her out. Ingenuity and Spice Company, and she does ship within the United States. Welcome, Shauna. Welcome, Butterfly Effect. Welcome, Daphne. Looking forward to meeting you in person. And of course, welcome, Tracy. Tracy Collins is in the chat, and she is my co-host with Black Blossom for next year. So I'm very, very excited about that. So feel free to jump in, like I said earlier, into the chat if you have anything you want to share with us. I'm going to be talking about the cost of living in Mexico, giving you kind of ranges of things. Remember, I'm in San Miguel, which is a little bit on the higher end of things in terms of costs, rents, and probably won't talk as much about buying houses. I'll give you a range of that, but we'll focus on things like the insurance and all the things. So I just want to, kind of go over what that looks like and, kind of maybe give a little more clarity. But what I would like, and I said this earlier for those who missed it, is, not as a bashing the US, but also educating me and letting me know, like, what do things cost now? Because I haven't spent a whole lot of time in the United States. Most of my experiences have been passing through, or just like a quick 3 or 4 or 5 days. I will be there later on this year, so bracing myself for all the sticker shocks. But I'm excited about it. However, I can say last year when I was there in November, I was in Cali, and I was pretty surprised at the cost of a lot of things. So I'm really just want you to drop in, kind of the things that maybe are really what you consider just like a very high cost for something. I saw someone posted, Jetta, you posted about your 2 dogs wellness check. We can talk about that too, because that's also very affordable. I'm gonna write that down, and I'll just pass some cost on for things. So let's get started, and I'm going to, I'll just turn my phone off. I can't fully turn it off because I have 2 guests that are out there in these streets living it up. So I'm kind of looking out for them. Okay, so let's get started with, let's talk about vet costs, since that came up in the chat. The vet cost, I would say, that's that's definitely on the higher end for wellness. For example, I had my dog neutered and the other one spayed, and it was 500 pesos for this procedure. And 500 pesos is, you know what, I'm gonna also bring out my converter just in case I need it. 500 pesos is like 30 bucks. And I'll tell you how it went down, because it felt very, in the US, I feel like there are definitely different steps that are taken for certain things. And here it's kind of a little bit like, they don't have the fluff in between. It's sort of just like, okay, this is how we do it. Nothing wrong with that, but I just want to give you a heads up, because I think my first experience, I was kind of like, oh, okay. So I brought my male dog in so he could get neutered. And we had an appointment. Of course, they told me the cost. And when we got there, they basically ask you to stay with your dog, and they come out, they weigh him, or they weighed him so they can see how much, I guess, whatever it is that they use to put him to sleep, how much they should use for this. And you kind of just, and it's not like in like a, like a little room. It's in the waiting, in this particular place. This is my experience where I was. It was in the waiting room, and you just kind of wait for them to kind of pass out. And they want you to help them basically hold the dog so the dog isn't aggressive towards them. So you kind of hold them, they give them the shot, I think it was in the rear. And then you just kind of wait. It doesn't take very long. It was about like a 2-minute kind of thing. You can see the dog kind of resisting, and then finally they kind of pass out, and then they take them into the room. And then they tell you when to come back. And then you hand over about $30 US, 500 pesos, and you bring your dog home. They'll tell you if you need the cone or not. You kind of know your pet. I needed it for my male dog. And what to do, not too much activity, don't get, for them not to get wet and all the things. But the whole thing was just like, very easy. In the US, I know that they're like kind of, they want to do a lot more steps, and there's nothing wrong with that either. But when those steps end up costing like hundreds more dollars, and it's kind of like, so that's one of the things. Health and wellness check I have done in the past with my older dog that passed last year. I remember just having to kind of emergency walk in, go into the vet, and those costs were very, very affordable, very low. I remember walking out with some medication and kind of like an emergency walk-in situation, and maybe it cost me around $50 US-ish. Regular health and wellness, I would say it ran me in the past. Even now, like the shots, for example, their initial shots, they have like the shots, kind of like vaccinations, I guess. They are vaccinations, but you know how they stagger them. But they cost approximately $15 per time that you go. So there's that, When I put my dog to sleep last year, they had offered for the vet to come to my house, or I could go there. They come to your house, it's a little bit more, but it still wasn't outrageous. I ended up going there because my dog was having like seizures every hour, and they couldn't come like fast enough, and I just didn't want to see him to continue suffering this way. So I went to them, and honestly, I don't remember what I paid, but it was not outrageous. I'm gonna say it was around $70 or something for me to bring him in and for them to put him to sleep. Actually, no, it was a little more. It was more like $100. because they also did the ashes, and they ask you, what kind of container do you want and things like that. So this included him being cremated and given back to me as well. Okay, so I hope that gives you some insight. Let's see, I'm thinking any questions. Any questions yet? Okay, so we covered the vet. Let's talk about utilities, right? Let's start with rent, actually. I'll talk about rent. And if anyone lives here and they want to chime in on rent and what they pay, feel free to do that, okay? I'll talk about my rental experiences, which I have before, but I will continue to share those things with you, and then what I can see happening now, and why I want to kind of dispel a little bit the things that people say about San Miguel, because there is such a wide range of rent prices and what you can get and what things are included. It all kind of, just like in the US, it depends on location. It depends on where you are. It depends on the house. It depends on your taste, your, the things you want, like what makes you feel good. And I honestly think that to get to that point, you have to really go out and see what can fit into my budget, right? I don't know if it makes sense to just say, oh, this is my budget and I want this. I really think you have to get out there and a little bit beat the streets. I see different people, they either will get some help, which is perfectly fine, or they will do the work themselves if they kind of want to just kind of, do a little bit of their own legwork. And I think both things work hand in hand. And eventually, after you look at a couple things, I feel like you start to get a sense of what can my money or my budget afford. So in terms of rent range, to me, it's extremely wide. Again, personal preferences, right? And I just want to comment, Jetta, so much more. Yeah, it's just more affordable, right? And I want to say this in regard, really quick, in regard to the vets. There's so many of them here, and maybe contrary to what we may think, they do have pretty good care as well for animals. Places that are set up just for that. And even, if you decided one day I want to have a farm, there are just a lot of doctors that are available for animals and humans, and they're really good at what they do. And a lot of them will come to your house if you really need it. I've heard a lot of those stories. So just want to say that, I think at least my thought process was that wasn't really a big thing. And I was very wrong about that. There's even a Petco, 2 Petcos here. Okay, so just saying. The food is expensive, but because it's imported. Anyway, with the rents, the range is wide, okay? Because I know individuals who are paying as little as like $300, maybe $350 US a month, and it potentially includes some things. I've seen some of those places. I saw maybe more of those places 4 or 5 years ago here in San Miguel. And they were decent. Like I remember in 2019, just before COVID, I saw a place that was sort of like a loft setup, but it had a separate room where it was kind of, if you were an artist or wanted an office or whatever, it was fully furnished. It was in a very central area. You could walk to Centro, and they were charging about 6,000 pesos or so a month. And that, at the time, that was like 300 US dollars. And it was right in San Antonio, which is kind of a, desirable neighborhood. So I think they still have places like that, but they're fewer and fewer in San Miguel. Where it's centrally located. If you're really looking for like a place that's, you say you have a fixed income and you're looking for a place that is a little bit less, or somewhere around that. They still have them, but you're probably going to find more of those places by going online, going to Facebook, and going and joining places that are for rent in that city. For example, here in San Miguel, there's a like San Miguel Serrenta, and a lot of times they're going to be the owners who are posting directly. A lot of times it's not going to necessarily be a realtor, because there's not a lot in it for a realtor to put a lot of legwork into places where the rent is, more on the rock bottom side. Doesn't mean it's going to be crappy, not necessarily. Doesn't mean you probably have to put a little work into it, probably. But look at all the factors, right? So I like to recommend to people to look at all the factors, and all the factors to me are, where am I in the city? Do I have a car? If you don't have a car, how far out I might be, right? I might be a little ways out for that price, maybe. What are my neighbors like? Is it a place that's kind of fallen apart, and do I want to deal with that? Probably you don't, especially if it's not a good landlord. They have slumlords here too, I'm sure. But sometimes it might be worth just upping your budget a little if you can. So I think the realization now is, don't come to Mexico expecting things to be really rock bottom like they were 5 or 10 years ago. But I do think that if you're willing to do the legwork, you can still probably find something that fits into your budget. In an area, you may just have to look a little bit harder, a little longer. You may have to do the work yourself. You may not be able to just hire a realtor. Now, what I do suggest is, once you find that place, is try to find someone who's willing to look at the contract and look at the agreement that you all have, especially if you are not fluent in the language. Maybe even have, pay an attorney to just review it for you. Make sure that who you're paying is the owner and not some person who doesn't have anything to do with the house. These are all the things. These are things you got to be aware of and look out for, because it happens. So in terms of that, again, the range, that's a very low end, but I have seen some places that are pretty decent. I looked at a place yesterday with someone, and it needed a lot of things. It was unfurnished, and it was around, let me see, I'm just using this as an example. It was like $650. It wasn't quite in Central, had no furnishing. To me, it just looked like it needed a lot of like TLC. It's like sort of one of those houses where someone, did their own thing. They kind of were like, oh, let's add a bathroom over here, and let's do a makeshift closure for the door. And the door is going to be sometimes closing the closet, but sometimes closing the bath. It's just like weird things. You don't want to live in a place necessarily like that, because if you want to make it your own, you're going to end up putting a lot of money into it. And if it's a rental, you kind of don't really want to do that. It just feels to me like a lot of unnecessary work and time. And I feel that if you are willing to pour that in, and I'm only using this as an example, if you're willing to pour that in, then maybe up your budget and stretch, like think about it over a period of 12 months or 24 months. What more can I get for what I'll end up pouring in to this, right? So this individual was able to find something much better, pay a little bit more, and in the paying a little bit more, things are included. And I wanted to say that that's one of the benefits here in Mexico that I see a lot of, is people have a lot of places with furniture already included, which is a plus. It can be a plus if you're recently moving or moving and you're just trying to like get your bearings and stuff. And you need the things that are in there. And it includes utilities, it includes, let's say, internet, it includes water, it includes electricity. That's a plus, right? Sometimes it will also include a housekeeper, maybe once or twice a week. Whether or not you love that person that's coming in and out of your house, sometimes the owner is like, okay, that's just the way it is. But what I want to say is that's a plus and a benefit. So you have to kind of look at all of those things, not just, okay, I found this place that is a very inexpensive rent, but I also have this over here and I have to furnish it, I gotta fix it, I gotta make it my own, and honestly, I feel like this, if an owner is showing a place and they're not putting a whole lot of pride into it, that might be a red flag for you not to move there, because a lot of times they just don't care. For them, it's just money, it's just income. They're not really gonna care about the space. Like, I just feel like, owning a house and renting it to someone and the presentation that you present to someone who's willing to give you money for your space, then you're going to get a better quality client if the space is if the space is, sorry, I think these are my son's friends. Let me turn that off. Block, do not disturb. Okay. I think that the space will get better tenants and things like that. And I think you also, as a tenant, will have a better landlord, okay? Because that's important. And it's also important that you have conversations with the landlord if you can, or whoever's property managing the place to ensure that they're going to be willing to fix things if they're broken, okay? And you probably want to write that into your contract. That's what I have done. It's important, right? Yeah, fortunately, the individuals I've dealt with in the past, they were all good. They were good, but I've seen some cases where they weren't, and it's just not cool. It's not cool. So I just wanted to see, welcome, Diane. Hi. I didn't know you were in Ecuador. I hope you're having a great time. Welcome. So in terms of the rent, I want to go back to the higher, like the mid-range, as I said, would be, in my opinion, in San Miguel, if you were looking for, let's say, 2 or 3 bedroom place, let's say furnished. I'm going to say unfurnished first. I'm going to say you're going to be in like about 750 to 900. Again, depending on where you are, about that. And this is going to be a place that is nice, may need a little bit of like, massaging to make it your own. It may or may not be furnished. It kind of all depends on where it is. If you're a little farther out, they may put a little bit more of the Ritz in. And for example, you may be a 10-minute or 15-minute walk outside of town. It may have furniture in it, and the rent range may be about, I'm going to say $1,000, but you're still close enough to Central where you're not way out because you can still walk. You don't necessarily have to drive, And I'm going to say if you're in Central and you're at about that amount, you're probably going to have like a smaller space, but you still probably can be centrally located in general in terms of, walking. How far is it for me to walk from my house to the center of San Miguel or to the grocery store? I have seen things though lately that are as high as, and I'm just going way up, and probably even more than this, but let's say like $2,000 to $3,000 a month, and we're talking US dollars. Now, at that higher end, you're going to get a lot of house, you're going to get a lot of pluses. You're going to probably have a space that has, a lot of bedrooms, and probably in a development community setting. More than likely, it's furnished really, really nicely, like designer style. So I just want people to understand, like, the range here is very, very wide, and the reasoning behind what people charge is broad, okay? Because some people are in the know. And if, for example, if a landlord doesn't live in San Miguel, they may not be in the know of how much people are paying in San Miguel. And, people coming from the United States, oftentimes, and this is unfortunate because it does become a part of what the gentrification factor happens, but a lot of the homes that are for sale typically are owned by Mexicans. So I don't want people to think like these are like, just Americans or foreigners coming and buying houses and whatever. Like, we're a very small percentage still in Mexico. So, the gentrification, I think, happens across the board with everyone who lives in the country. If they have money and they have multiple properties and they're learning, a better way to invest their money is not in the bank and to do real estate, they will fix them up very nicely. Maybe they already own it because it was passed down to them from, family and previous relatives or whatever. And, they just know. And I mean, there are a lot of people who really and truly, they're sitting on property because they can, because they're not paying anything maybe but the property tax on it, right? They don't have like the monthly mortgage and all the bills and all the things. So for them, it's like, okay, I'm not going to give this up for a little bit. Those are the folks that highly likely have done their homework and they already know what those costs look like. Again, to me, that's kind of on the higher end. I know there's probably more properties out there that are much, much higher, but I'm going to say that those are going to fall more into the shorter term rental. For example, you want to rent for 1 week or 1 month or something like that, then it's going to probably be more. I've seen places, huge houses, like let's say an 8-bedroom house with 10 bathrooms, pool, and the whole nine, right? All the toppings for about 10,000 US a week, okay? So I want people to understand like the range of what's available here and what's what the costs are. But you can go, like I said, I'm using US dollars, you can go from like, 350, 400 US dollars all the way up to 10,000 a month. It just all depends on where it is, what you're getting. There are some really, really fabulous places. If you go outside of the city, you want to rent a really, big home or something like that, you're going to be looking at less money. It all depends on who is the owner, how much work needs to be put in probably, or how long has it been empty, things like that. But if it's a place that's really, really done well, that has nice furniture, comes with a staff, or comes with a cleaning person, and you want to stay there, let's say 6 or 12 months, the rents are going to be a little bit less. If you're going to do like a short-term winter rental or something like that, it's going to be significantly higher. Clearly, if you're in Central versus a little on the outskirts, it just depends. But I'm going to say for a cool 2,000 US per month, you can get a very, very, very nice place, and highly likely it's going to be furnished really, really well. It's going to have a minimum, I'm going to say a minimum of 3 bedrooms, probably 4 bathrooms. It's probably going to be multi-leveled, and highly likely you'll have a terrace with a view of something spectacular, and security and swimming pool if you're in a development. And those are becoming very popular around here. So that kind of gives you a general range. If you're in Central and you rent a house that is also fully furnished and in a nice area, you're looking probably at least upwards of 1,500 to 2,000 US per month. But I will say, not to discourage anyone, that you can still find places that, in my opinion, are under 1,000. I would say between 600, 700 to 1,000 US that are going to be very nice, also affordable and not out in the boondocks. You know, it just all depends. Like, is it going to be a place that has furniture, or is it a place with nothing? How close are you to Central, or is it a little bit farther out? Do you have to walk a little more? And just know this, San Miguel is super compact, meaning the activities that happen and the things that are like, you know, jumping in SMA are very compact. So, you know, and I did a drawing about this. So if you had like, this is the center where the church is, that's what they consider central zone. And then you have one ring outside of that. I'm going to say those are in San Antonio, Guadalupe, Guadiana neighborhoods. That's ring 1. And then outside of that is like La Lejona, Malinquin, and those neighborhoods. That's going to be ring 2, in my opinion. And then outside of that is going to be like Los Frailes. And all of those are still very close to Central. You can get to get from any of those neighborhoods, even up where the mall is. That's like La Lucianaga and behind. They're building a lot of developments up there. That's where the Tuesday market is and all the things. All of those with a car, you can get to Central literally in, to me, less than 15 minutes, 12 to 15 minutes. Just all depends on traffic. If you're walking, that's different, you know. So yeah, you can hop on a bus and all the things. So I hope that helps a little bit in terms of the rental. If you have questions specific, please let me know. Let's see. Oh, thank you, Diane. I appreciate it. I like getting compliments on the days when I'm not making the biggest effort. Appreciate you. Okay, so I spent a lot of time talking about that rental, but with utilities, I'll go through it really quick. Water to me is extremely affordable. I haven't lived in an area where I had to have water brought to me or I had a well, so I can't really talk about that. But my water bill for Casa, as a matter of fact, I have it as I had to pay for it. It's like been really affordable. I know I had like a problem or a leak a couple months ago, so my bill was a little bit higher, but I just got this and it's like 358 pesos, okay? This is for a month, so I'm gonna tell you what that is. $17 for my whole house, okay? That's how much water is, and that's why sometimes the owner will include it. Let's see, 358, sorry. Yeah, let's call it $18 because it's coming up $17.97. So that's what my water bill looks like. Electricity is a little bit different. You know, I run a business, so I don't think it's fair to really make that comparison, but based on past experiences, I would say average per month was somewhere between 50 to 100 US per month, kind of just depending on what I was running. When I'm hot, I'm hot. I need a fan. So I run my fan, my ceiling fans. And in the winter, if I'm cold, I'm gonna definitely run my space heater. And the space heaters can really, if it's a 220 volt, because the voltage here is like 120, is a 220 volt, or you're constantly using, you know, electricity. Most of the houses have gas stoves, some of them have electric. So you just wanna be mindful of that. Clearly, if you're living in Puerto Vallarta, somewhere hot, those electric bills are going to be much higher if you have air conditioning and things like that. Fortunately, we're in the mountains and that's not a concern for us. I don't have an AC. Some people that live here do. So not a lot, but I have a few clients who put in AC units in their place, and their bills, I'm sure, are a little bit higher than the norm. But I would say on average, we're looking at, let me see, when I was in El Secreto, I think I was paying around 30 US a month for utilities. And again, this was for a 3-bedroom, 3.5 bathroom townhouse, right? And yeah, we had a full house with, a minimum of 3 or 4 people kind of on average coming and going. So that just gives you a heads up on that. Also, with the other utilities, for example, like Telmex, which is a local provider for internet, super affordable. I mean, my bill is, I have 2 lines, and I know I shared this recently as well. I pay about $50 for my 2 modems and 2 separate internet accesses. If you have a home that's a little larger and, oh my goodness, I feel like I didn't say hi. Hi, Kim. Sorry. I felt it just like dawned on me that I saw it, looked at it, and didn't say anything. If you're still on, apologies. Sorry, this is how my brain works. It's like I'm visual and I see it, mental note to self, but then I don't always remember to go back to it. Anyway, with the internet, if you have a larger home, it may make sense to get 2 accounts because the walls in most of the homes here are cement, and sometimes it's not sometimes, oftentimes it can be a challenge to get connectivity in each area. It's also not a bad idea to get the canisters that are the extenders. I forget the brand, I want to say, I don't remember the name of the brand, but you can have someone install those. They don't always have or sell them with the internet provider. They have their own, but they're like these little chintzy things that don't always work well. You can buy canisters on Amazon and have them put throughout the house, and then it creates like the mesh system for you. But internet in general cost me, for my 2 lines, I think the line for the business is like the medium speed, and it works pretty well. And the line for my personal area is the less expensive, and it works decent. And so, yeah, that's how much that is. Cell phone, let's talk about the cell phone. I have a Mexican phone. It's here, it's with Telcel. So there's Telmex, which is the internet provider. It's fiber optics, and then there's Telcel. So I have Telcel, and I have unlimited Wi-Fi calling, unlimited text and data, I believe. The data part is not unlimited, but you get a lot. I'm not great with like turning off the things I don't need. So it does kind of like drain and suck out my data if I'm using it, if I'm not on like the internet and I'm just like out and about traveling around. But those costs are really and truly, I'm saying, per month, I think I'm paying approximately, let's see, I renew my plan and then I probably add, I'm gonna say less than $40 a month. And I'm able to use my phone, not just in Mexico, but I can use it same capacity in the United States and the exact same capacity in Canada. So just like if you travel, you can use your phone. Typically, these are the 3 countries that you can use your plan the exact same way. Now, if I go outside of these areas, I don't think my phone works the same way at all. I feel like when I was in Jamaica, I had to kind of keep linking to Wi-Fi for it to work. So yeah, but that's normal. I feel like that happens with anyone traveling, outside of these 3 countries, that you have to buy some kind of international plan. I do have an American phone, so then I'm able to add whatever it is that I need when I travel. So there's that part. yeah, and what else did I want to share with you all? See, utilities, water, rents, talked about that. I was going to talk this for the ladies. I'll talk a little bit about the spa services here. So it's very affordable to get your nails done. You can get your lashes done. I don't know what these things cost in the US, so feel free to chime in if you want. But I have used in the past someone who used to come to my house and do my nails for me, like fills and and pedicures and all the things, like come to my house. I don't do that anymore, but it was super affordable. I would say it was about 35 to 40 bucks each time, and I didn't have to leave my home. This worked really well during COVID, so I wasn't looking all janky. And yeah, we'll talk about the gas. Okay, we'll talk about the gas. Give me a second. With the whole, service now, like there's some salons here in SMA. Well, there are a few. They're very, very nice. They're really, they're nice. They look nice. They're clean. They're fancy. All the things. And I would say on average, maybe the cost is around $50 US for a pedicure with the scrubs and all the things, and then a fill for acrylics if that's what you do. If it's a mani-pedi, then it's going to be a little bit less. If you want to get your lashes, I'm going to say it's about 75 or 80 bucks or so to do stuff like that. Barber, like to get Micah his haircut, I think it's around 20. I don't know, I remember paying 20 in the US, so that seems to be the same for like the nicer barber shops. And they have a few, like Rock and Roller is one of the ones that we go to. So yeah, I don't know what it costs in the US, but I can tell you what I used to pay for kind of the same exact things I do now, and it was around about $90 in the US, and this was over 6 years ago. And this was at, like an Asian salon with my appointment. I always had the same person and whatever I did. And then the 90, I think, was with I think it included my $10 tip or something like that, which is up there, right? I think here for 90, I could go at least 2 times, maybe 2.5. In terms of gas, yeah, sorry, I didn't talk about gas. So a lot of the houses require propane. You have to get propane for your cooking and maybe hot water heater. Just depends on, is it electric or is it a gas hot water heater? And it's hard to say because it depends on your tank, okay? So I'm not going to get into the deep part of that, but when I was living in Cirandaro, the tank I had there was much smaller because it was a much smaller space. And I felt like I had to fill it up like every 5 weeks. And to fill it up was about 1,000 pesos, which is about $50 or $60. So let's say on average you're paying $10 to $15 a week, right? But you do your lump sum, fill up, and then, and it was just like for me and my son. And yeah, but here I'm here at the guest house. We have a ginormous tank, so I don't keep track of how often I'm filling it, but it's not as much. It's not as frequent. But when I do fill it, I would say I don't really know, because I don't let it go down like too low, because I don't want to not be without the things we need here. But I'm going to say I'm going to guess, if it were at 20%, and you can only fill to 85%, they don't go above that. I'm going to say that would cost me about 3,000, 4,000 pesos, which would be around $200 US. But that's going to last us a very long time, okay? In a smaller space and smaller tank, yeah, but it's not outrageous. So I hope that helps. Really quick. Insurance. I'm going to talk about my stuff, okay? So to insure my car, it's less than 300 a year, and I have full coverage, collision. I know I have a deductible. I don't remember if it's 500 or $1,000. Is it dollars? I think it's 500 US-ish, whatever that comes out to. But I have coverage, liability, all the things. And I have an older car. It's a Honda, but it's in it's in decent shape. I'll say good shape. It was in better shape when I got it, but it's in decent shape. I use it. I love my Honda. It's reliable, gets me where I need to go. And my insurance is that affordable. It's about 300 or so a year, not a month, a year. And I just pay that. Fortunately, I haven't had to use my insurance for anything. So, knock on some wood about that. But yeah, I was paying 6+ years ago, probably $280 or something like that a month for 10 months out of the year for auto insurance. So just, to give you a comparative thing. I don't know what you all are paying, we're paying, still paying, but that's what that cost me. And I don't remember even what kind of car I had I know I had a Volvo, but yeah. Medical insurance. That's a tougher one because it's based on your age and it's all based on your health and, pre-existing things. Clearly, again, your age. So when you hit the 50+ bracket, it just costs a lot more. And it just depends on do you need full coverage or do you want catastrophic coverage, all the things. But what I will say is you can get coverage that will cover you globally, and that insurance will go with you if you need to move and travel a little bit. It will allow you to have the benefits of, if I go here, am I covered? And I believe with a lot of them, and I'm not saying every insurance company offers this, but I think a lot of the insurance companies that provide insurance for Mexican residents and their citizens, they will cover you in other parts of the world. Not every country, but other parts. And yes, it does depend on the deductible that you choose. So clearly, the higher your deductible is, you're going to pay a little less per month. It's gone up. I'll say that. It's gone up. When I first came here, I can't even remember. I'm sorry, you guys. But I'm going to say I was paying for me and Micah, for the year, I think it was around 3,000 US, and that has gone up, And one of the things I think that some people may struggle with is here, and I'll say struggle, it's should I do this or shouldn't I do this? Because you can go and get care for a lot less, right? So that's also something to consider. I've had friends who have maybe 3 or 4 children, and they're I can't really afford to do insurance even in Mexico. But when I take my child to the doctor, it's so much less expensive. I can afford to do that, right? So these are just things to consider. I'm not telling you not to get insurance. What I'm saying is people have their different things, and knowing that you can probably afford some of the things that you might be paying a larger amount out of pocket, that maybe until you figure out what works for you financially, you might just be able to pay for your care, right? If you're in good, decent health. Now, does that help you in a catastrophic situation? No, but you can also get catastrophic type insurance here as well. So those are things to really look into. It's harder to give pricing for that because, again, it depends on age, where you are, what your health is, and all the things. So I can give you auto insurance and like, insurance on the house was really affordable for me this year. Just like a couple $100s. And I'm like, okay, gracias. This is for my business as well. It's not just, the house, it's my business. They also have renters insurance. I don't know a lot about it, but that is something that you could look into. I don't really know what it's based on. I remember in the United States, I had renters insurance for the places that I lived, and it was very affordable, and it covered, if there was any damage to my things or break-ins or anything like that, or something was stolen out of my house. So that's also an option. You just need to really ask the right questions and hopefully speak to someone, if you don't speak great Spanish, that can really explain it to you, because it is a little bit different. I remember asking someone about the life insurance here, and this particular individual I spoke to, and this was again years ago, he said that you had to have over like $1 million in assets for them to give you a life insurance policy, I guess. I don't really remember the logic behind that, but that was what I was told. So there's that. And in terms of food, I want to talk about that a little bit. It's fresher for you to get fresh fruits, vegetables. There are markets everywhere. I think Mexico really does thrive on agriculture here and fresh, a lot of things, right? Even the meats, like if you're a person who eats chicken, eats beef and all the things, and of course, if you eat seafood and you're closer to the ocean and we're not, you can just kind of get more goods that are fresher and maybe coming from someone's farm or somewhere nearby. It's not going through, some process of being preserved or over the top preserved. There are just a lot more options, and the price is like more affordable, right? Even at an organic type place, they have a place in town, it's an organic market. But then you also have all the markets on many days out of the week. There are some that are open all the time. There's one here in San Rafael. I've been in there a few times. It's just a little bit difficult for me to get into because they don't have a lot of parking, but they do have like San Rafael, and then there's other markets that are close by San Rafael. And then they have the Tianguis, which is a Tuesday market. They also have in the same location on Sunday, the Sunday market. And that one's a little smaller, but I go there to get my fruits, my veggies, all the things. And then there's so many of the small stores that sell the same exact things, and it's just super duper affordable. I remember when I first came here, and I was, of course, now I'm more used to it, but I was just like amazed at how many bags of things I could buy for $20. Maybe it's not exactly that anymore, but you can still get a lot. And what I realized was I was wasting things because there are not a lot of preservatives. The things don't last very long. So for example, carrots, you kind of have to use them within 1 or 2 days, other they get really soft and mushy, or they kind of get just soft. Same with like bananas, they get ripe really fast if you leave them out. I would say in 2 or 3 days they get ripe. Certain things, probably better in the refrigerator. I kind of time things, so when I cook on Fridays, I'm like, okay, I can get my plantains, they got to look this way for Friday. Otherwise they're not going to be ready, or they'll be too ready. So it's just like a lot of things like that. And you can ask the people at the store or who's selling the products, like, give me an avocado that's going to be ready in 2 days because you need it in 2 days and not today. Or what's ready today, they'll help you. But the pricing on these things are super affordable, right? You can get a nice amount of dried things and fresh fruits and vegetables And when you go to these little shops, this is kind of what you'll see. You know, we're used to kind of like a grocery store with aisles and aisles and aisles of things. But what I've discovered is in a lot of these stores, you can kind of get the things you need, your basic, you know, rice, beans, vegetables, maybe not so much the meats and things like that. Canned goods, if you need those. They have like, you know, all these like, they have like things of oil and little, you know, thing of milk or whatever. So a lot of times those are the shops that the locals will shop at, and the prices are just a lot lower. I feel like shopping for one person, and you can multiply that by however many people are in your household. If you're someone who cooks at home, I feel like you honestly could be on maybe a $30 for groceries if you are not making, you know, big elaborate meals. And again, you can go as high as a couple hundred. Like when I go to Costco's, you know, I blow my budget every time. I spend probably 500, 600. But I'm running a business and I just see things and I'm like, oh, I'm not going to be here for a while, so let me get but do I need all those things? No. But in between, I'm able to go to the store. I can get a kilo of rice for like less than $2, literally. And a kilo is like 2 pounds of rice. Same for beans. When I buy my beans, I can get a kilo of beans for less than $2. When I buy shrimp, you know, I get it deveined and delivered to my house, and it's like 270 or 315 pesos, which is, let's see, 315, $15, and that's like about 2 pounds. That's not necessarily cheap. I don't like using that word, but it's definitely less expensive than some of the prices I've seen, and it's good. Like they're, you know, big size shrimp. They're clean, deveined. They don't have the shell on them, nothing. And they're delivered to my house. So there's like zero complaints there. Also, chicken. Let's talk about chicken. If you eat chicken, okay. I'm not a big meat eater on my own, but I do cook my Jamaican meals. So when I do cook, you know, if there's some left over for us, great. But I have these things delivered. So last week I had, I think it was 18 or 20 thighs delivered to my house. I asked them to clean it, cut them in half, take the skin off, and cut each thigh in half. They didn't do that part, but they did clean the skin off. And I had them also deliver 1 kilo, was it a kilo? I think it was 1 kilo, might have been 2 kilos of gizzards from my dog or dogs. Now, it cost me, gosh, what was that bill? I wish I had that in front of me, but I'm gonna guess. And it was, again, it was delivered to my house. I think it was like 320 or 30 pesos, and I had to pay the delivery guy. 330 pesos, okay? That's $16. And I mean, these are like some chunky pieces of chicken. They're not like steroid chicken. They're just like, they taste like chicken. I was making brown stew chicken for a dinner that I had on Sunday. And you know, it's like I don't have to leave my home because there are like, I don't know, I call them like a cottage mom and pop type place where that's all they sell. And I remember I used to go there and the guy said to me, you don't have to come if you don't want to, we can bring it to your house. Same for the butcher. I can contact them and say, hey, can you bring this to my house? So all these conveniences and for what you pay, I really, really do not take that for granted. I appreciate it. So food for me can be real high end if you like to eat out a lot. You know, there's very high end places. Like next week, we're going to really nice places that are more high end, nice vineyard with an amazing brunch. We're gonna go to a really nice high end restaurant for our Friday night meetup, the first initial welcome meetup, very high end. Or, if you say, I want to go to a little taco stand, there's quite a few. There's a lot. I was showing my guests that just left on yesterday. When they first got here, I was driving them around town and I was showing them how all of the taco stands that open up at night. And, that's like almost kind of like a nighttime vibe. And you can just see like where the people are that are gathered, then those are probably the really good tacos. Price wise, they're probably like ranging between $2 to $2.50, $3. It just depends on what you're getting, and they give you a pretty decent portion. What I don't care for is when a lot of times they give you like the little round, the tacos are like little, they're not like, the big ones where you can, really get a whole bunch of stuff in there. Not everywhere, some places. My favorite is at the market, and they'll tell you this, Mexicans will tell you the best places to eat in Mexico are at the market. And you look for where there are the most people, and chances are it's really good food. I've tried that. It doesn't always work. And I think it's just, a difference of taste and taste buds. I find I like, because of my ethnic background, I like things really well seasoned, and I like my meat seasoned. It's not just throw the onion, cilantro, and the sauces on, which I also love, but I feel like I need my meat to be seasoned, cooked, chopped, and then let's put it in the taco. And a lot of times it's like they just throw a little salt on it, and yeah, people love it, and there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a place on Sundays, I think her name is La Doña Vita or something like this, and she is in the second tent, if you're ever looking for it, here at the Tianguis, the Sunday market. And she is the second tent, and she's kind of towards the parking lot area. And her food is so good. And I always get what they call the gringo. And that has it's almost like a Philly cheesesteak inside of a taco. It was so good. I don't eat it often, but sometimes Micah and I will go there and indulge, and we just get full, and then we're like happy and we leave. The last time I went, she wasn't there, and we ate at another place, and it was okay. I was like, oh, it's okay. Hi, Ingrid. Welcome. I haven't seen you here for a while. Thanks for popping up. I appreciate you. All right, so with the food, like I said, you can go to the grocery store, you can go to the market, you can go high end to City Market, and I love going there. It's such a beautiful grocery store. I love La Comer, also a beautiful grocery store. But those are the places where you're going to encounter, higher prices. And you really should have something that allows you to do the conversion. I think it's important to have a converter, because this way it keeps you in check and balance. And I've said this story before. A few years ago, I was so excited. I went into like a more gourmet grocery store, and I said, oh my God, they have cornbread, they have Jiffy Mix. And I picked it up and I threw it in my little basket. And then I was I just stopped and I said, oh, because I don't know, I think I was still making the conversion. It's like, oh, it's only 80 pesos. And then I was like, wait a minute, that is $4 for a Jiffy Mix. And I remember Jiffy Mix being 50 cents or something. I don't know, maybe I'm dating myself. But it was $4. I put it back because I didn't really want it that badly. And you know what I've learned here is I've learned how to make a lot of things. And I've also had homemade cornbread, which is actually delicious. Like Chef Jackie, I mentioned her earlier, she makes a really good cornbread. And then there's other woman that I know, she also makes an amazing cornbread as well. It's like cornbread cake. It's so delicious. And so, I'm just saying it as, yes, if you love Jiffy and you want it, go ahead and get it. But I always say too to people, check the prices and do the conversion, because what something costs in the US that's imported, definitely, and I know you've probably heard this if you follow things in Mexico, costs a lot more here. Like Jiffy peanut butter, Skippy, not Jiffy, Skippy peanut butter, things like that, they're gonna cost more in Mexico because they've been imported and if you want it, get it. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm not telling you what to do or not to do or not to buy, but definitely check it, because I think initially for me, I just was like throwing stuff in my cart, because in the US overall, the groceries, the cost was a lot higher. Like I definitely spent a lot more on food, groceries, and the whole thing. And I was going to like, Costco to get this, and then Publix to get that, and then Whole Foods to get this. And then when it was all said and done, it was definitely higher. And here I feel like I kind of do the same thing, but if I add it all together, it's definitely more affordable. Okay. So I just want to talk about food in the market, eating out at restaurants. I'm going to make this short because again, it could be real high end, or, you can go to the taco place, or you can go to like an authentic Mexican restaurant. One of my favorites is Los Milagros. It's here. They have 2 locations. My favorite one is the Terraza, so I kind of don't even go to the one in Central anymore. The one in Central is the one that was originally here, but they opened the Terraza location, which has a really amazing view, especially at sunset, and even at night, it's just gorgeous up there. I like going there because it's kind of like the Mexican Cheesecake Factory. They give you a lot of food, and I feel that if you order Mexican dishes, it's very authentic and it's delicious, and they give you a lot. So I highly recommend that. And it's kind of, for me, it's the middle of the road cost, it may be high end, just depending on who you are. But I feel like for a lot of foreigners, it's not. It's a good middle road cost, and the quality, the taste, the flavor, the service is good. Yes. Hey, Pamela, how are you? I'm just reading the comments. Yes, Diane, I also love City Market. I just go there to look at stuff and show people. I feel like I go there to tour. I'm like, and over here, we have the cafe, and they have gelato ice cream. It's like really cool in there. So if you're ever in San Miguel, you haven't been here, please be sure to check it out. Los Milagros, back to Los Milagros. It's delicious. It's middle of the road in terms of cost. To me, it's a beautiful view. It can definitely rival a lot of these other really high-end rooftops, but it's not chic-y, if that makes sense. There are some places that are just really, really beautiful. Like, for example, on Saturday night, we went to Rosewood. Rosewood is really considered on the top of the food chain in terms of place, decor, all the things, right? And I personally just feel like their food is okay. For me, it's kind of like, when you go to a place, when you travel, let's say to Venice, and, they don't have to try very hard because they got this fabulous location. And the food is kind of like, oh, okay, that was okay, but not really what I was expecting to get out of Italy. That's sort of how I feel about the Rosewood. I love going there. It's beautiful, but I recommend the drinks in Sunset, which is not what we did on Saturday night. We ended up getting some appetizers, and it was quite a bit of food, so we ended up not needing to go to our next destination, which we were like, we'll just have drinks and watch the sunset, and then we'll go elsewhere. But we ended up getting food and all the things, and then it was chilly. It's kind of chilly now at night. And they were very nice. Like, the service is superb. People are very friendly. It's a really beautiful place. It's like, you're gonna see, people, you're gonna be hobnobbing with people that are, who knows? I'm gonna say rich and famous, or famous and rich, or both, or not, I don't know. But, they're very stylish. It's like, we went, and then we ended up just going downstairs to their bar, which is really cool inside. And this is very high end. I don't remember what our bill was, but, it was like almost $300 for appetizers and a few drinks. And they were very nice and kind. They gave us blankets to wrap up in, and we had a great time. The view is magnificent, all the things, right? I personally don't think the food is fabulous. It's not bad, but it's just like, okay, it's okay, right? There are plenty of other places that, to me, for that amount, you can go to and get food that really, really, really tastes amazing. So I like going there for that. I love going to Los Milagros for the view and the food. It's not like high-end chicy, but it's still very nice. It's still very, very nice. The view is to die for as well. So just kind of giving you like the ranges. You can do the taco places, you can do middle of the road, good food. Like Inside Cafe is not fancy at all, but their food is so good. They have amazing sandwiches. They're not open for dinner. They don't have really some great view. You're kind of looking at the wall to the library, and it's on a main road. There are like a lot of like nooks and cranny type places with really good food. Like Rustica is also very beautiful. I love going there. That to me is a great fair price, good food, but it's a breakfast and lunch place. They're not open for dinner. So anyway, the point is there's a very wide range. If you go out and you want to eat out and you're not someone who cooks, that you can lower your budget or not. So yeah, there's that on prices and things like that, cost of living. Moving around town, I'm going to go really short and quick with that. Moving around town, I would say on average, you're going to be spending about $5 to $6 if you're in the central zone, whether it's on Uber, depends on the day, the day of the week, the time. If it's at night, things cost a little more. If it's a holiday, it's a little more. I don't use Uber, I have a car, and I also have like a driving company that I use, and they're consistent, so I like that. It's good for my guests, because they're not going to end up overpaying or getting overcharged because it's under this umbrella. Sometimes if you don't know, sometimes they'll try you. They'll be like, oh, it's 200. And then they drop you off 2 blocks down the street, which is like $10. So you don't want to do that either. But I would say on average, if you're using Uber, you can see, and the Uber app works here just as it does anywhere. So all of these things I'm kind of comparing to San Miguel. I did say earlier on that I was going to compare some of the things in other places. I won't get too deep into it, but for Mexico City as an example, for an Uber ride that I would pay for here, Mexico City is probably going to be about 25% less. I found like eating in a nice place in Mexico City was about 25% less than what I would pay in San Miguel. So that gives you some percent. And I'm talking about a nice place, like a nice high-end place, like a Rosewood. I went to a place, I forgot the name of it. Sofitel. It was in the Sofitel. It was like on the 15th floor, amazing view of the Zocalo and all the things. And I just found that the dinner was less. My Uber rides are about 25% less and faster. It just kind of comes, because it's the city and because there's more demand and more supply. There's more supply probably than demand. It kind of weighs out what you pay. There are a lot more options, like the Asian restaurant we ate at there. Like I'm going back to Mexico City so I can eat at Moshi Moshi, and that's it. I'm just gonna go eat and come back home. It was so good. Anyway, very affordable and delicious. Staying in Airbnb, like phenomenal location. And I think I was in Polanco this time. I always try different neighborhoods, and it was just super affordable. It wasn't over the top. Amazing building, just really, really gorgeous. And definitely less than San Miguel. San Miguel is just more expensive. When I went to Chihuahua, and I'm just throwing things at you, definitely paid a lot less, but we're not now, we're talking like way less immigrants, foreigners, and expats. So, the demand for things to cost more it's lowered. It's just not a demand, I should say. It's just less because people are not going to pay that amount. Now, is it nice? Yeah. I went to a really beautiful area that reminded me of parts of West Palm Beach downtown. And I was like, this is really beautiful. Went to Asian restaurant and just kind of walked up and down the boulevard, and it was gorgeous. But food, Ubers, all the things were a lot less. So it just all depends on where you are in the country. Let's see, I think I was going to talk a little bit about remodeling compared to the United States. I won't get too deep into that because I don't know that it's overly applicable. But what I will say real quick is, like the cost to get labor assistance is definitely less. We'll talk about the domestic work and things like that, because to me, that's a little bit subjective. I think it's important for you as a good citizen to see what you're getting. You don't necessarily have to overpay, but just because you can. I think though that you have to look at that individual circumstance and situation of the person who's working for you and what they're doing for you, and what and where they may be in their life, and make sure that you compensate them fairly. Because one thing I can say that I've experienced is if someone's working for me, even in the US, but here especially, and they're doing a good job, and they're not doing a good job, they're, because sometimes people start off like hot and heavy, like a relationship, and then suddenly the honeymoon's over and it's like, but if they're doing a good job for you, they're consistently working and doing the things, then yes, like you should compensate them. But, be mindful of the different things that are happening in their life and yours. But I feel like they're very loyal to you and the situation, depending on how they're treated, So, and I, had this conversation recently with my person, and I was saying to her that I'd rather have someone who's getting paid decent and feels good about it. When I say decent, very fair, like above probably the average pay, and comes to my house with good energy and happy to be here, and not just here because they really need the money and they're not liking it or they're not happy, because I need good energy in my space. I'm all about that. And I think that trickles all the way down or up to the guest experience and the whole nine, and how they feel when they come into the space, because we all can feel a certain way if it doesn't feel good to us, right? So those costs vary. But in terms of like construction, remodeling, I feel like that's a little bit out there. But what I will say is the average like construction workers working like, let's say 40 hours a week is gonna, and this is not under my rule, this is like something that happened recently where I had like the contract with the top person, and then like the people who were working for him, they were making, let's see, about $130 a week, which I personally think is not much. So sometimes in these cases, in this particular case, I had a contract to do a specific thing, so there was nothing I could do about how much that guy was paying his workers. But what I will say is sometimes out of that, if you can connect with someone who's doing a good job, then you can say, hey, after this is finished and you're done working in this situation, if I need help over here with something, I would be willing to pay you, whatever, if I need work, or you give me a quote. I usually ask them to give me a quote for their time and for the things they do. And this is how you build relationships with people. So I feel like that's a lot. And I have a guest here who is ready to do kind of like a full moon offering. And so we're going to get to it because the moon is probably going to be coming up. I'm looking out the window soon. I think tonight is full moon or tomorrow. So we're going to do that, but I'm glad you all were here. Don't forget to hit the like, please. Hit the like button, subscribe button. If you come here every week and you don't do that for me, like, it's so easy, just click and that's it. And if you are watching this on the replay, feel free to drop some questions in. I try to check them a couple times a week just to see what's up. Okay, hold on a second. One of my guests is stuck. Let me just tell her I'll be right there. Okay, one sec. Yes, I have to make sure that they get around. She just arrived today, so I got to make sure that my people get back to the house safe and sound. So yeah, definitely. Thank you. Welcome to Buzzcats Explore. Your question of virtual multi-less conference as a whole. Can you focus on? Gal, no. We're actually going to be postponing that. So if you have any questions, feel free to drop it in email to me at info@casaelm.com. We sort of had low enrollment and we felt that it needed more time to be marketed. So there's that. We're not focusing, the conference actually is geared to focus on all of Mexico and the different aspects of moving to Mexico, like immigration. Cost of living, we actually had, I think, 3 speakers scheduled to talk about cost of living in Mexico City, cost of living in Oaxaca, cost of living in the Yucatan. So that gives variety on different areas. You know, you can also join groups on Facebook that are, you know, whatever area or city you're interested in, there's always going to be an expat group. You can go in there and ask them, hey, how much is your cost? Or start shopping around online to see like what is an apartment cost in that area, whatever that is that you might be interested in. And yes, absolutely, that was a good question. Welcome, Sarah. Yes, the view is amazing at Rosewood, but that's that about it. The food is decent. I just think it's really high end, and it's okay. I mean, high end cost, and the food is just, to me, it's okay. They had some good bread. All right, ladies and gents, I'm going to get ready to join in on this nice offer that my guest put out. She even does Qigong. She was doing it today, and she's like, do you want to do Qigong? I told her I would join her tomorrow, because today I was getting ready for tonight and a bunch of other things. So have a fantastic evening. Thank you all so much for being here. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe. If you need more information about me, Casa Elm, feel free to do a search, Michelle Wedderburn, Wedderburn. And also feel free to, I'm gonna respond to your comment in a second. Feel free to subscribe and check out my website, casaelm.com. You'll see a bunch of events there. And if you want info about relocating and things like that, I have a webinar on October 21st. That is next Monday. And there I give a lot of info about relocating and things like that. Yeah, sorry, you know, we had low enrollment, and we just felt we needed more time to market it. So instead of just like, you know, trying to force something, we decided we would postpone it. So do look out. We will have new dates next year for next year. Okay. Yeah, that's where we were. We had people who signed up, but it didn't feel like enough for the amount of work and the speakers, and our speakers are getting paid, we're paying them and all the things. So we will circle back to it because we do believe in it, in this project. All right. Thank you, Lorenzo, for being here. Thank you all. Have a fantastic night. All right. I send you lots of besitos and abrazos from San Miguel de Allende. Ciao.